Hello and welcome back to Unpeeled. I'm Owen Valentine.
And I'm Katie Lane. We start this week by offering our condolences to Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. The couple announced in an Instagram post on Thursday that they lost their third child to miscarriage halfway through the pregnancy. The model was met with some criticism over her decision to share private photos, including photos of Teigen weeping in her hospital gown. Some claimed the photos looked staged or that the couple wanted attention by posting so publicly. But most have been supportive over the couple's willingness to shed light on heartbreak many parents suffer through in silence.
And an update on Harvey Weinstein's trial in Los Angeles. On Friday, the LA County District Attorney announced 6 new charges against Weinstein. They include 3 charges of forcible rape and 3 charges of forcible oral copulation against 2 victims. This brings the total number of criminal charges against Weinstein in Los Angeles to 11. The 68-year-old began serving a 23-year sentence in March in New York, and a hearing to extradite Weinstein to California is set for December.
The second largest movie theater chain in the US is temporarily closing its doors. 536 Regal Cinema locations in the US will shut down on Thursday, October 8th. The closures will affect over 40,000 American employees.
Regal's decision to shutter their theaters comes after news that the new James Bond film, No Time to Die, would have its release date pushed back from November to April. Theaters were counting on the new Bond film to reignite ticket sales. Now, with no blockbusters coming out until Death on the Nile and Wonder Woman 1984 in December, Regal had to make the tough call.
Yeah, Owen, Cineworld reported a loss of $1.6 billion in just the first half of 2020. And AMC, the largest US movie theater chain, was really hit hard by the pandemic, reporting a $2.2 billion loss in just the first quarter. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the different quarters of movie theater seasons or business seasons, but that's so soon and that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that it's not just these theaters that are struggling to stay afloat. So many theaters are, and most theaters in the US haven't even been open since March. Do you remember the last movie that you saw in movie theaters?
The last movie I saw in movie theaters, I'm not, the most frequent moviegoer. It could be all the way back to Black Panther, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
a long time ago.
I'm usually a patient waiter until they come out on DVD or I can get them on HBO. But it's not just you've got so many different factors being impacted, including the employment of nearly 50,000 individuals between the U.S. and the United Kingdom. And Cineworld CEO Mookie Griedinger said that they're kind of like a grocery store, but right now they're without vegetables, fruit, and meat. And with those conditions, you can simply only operate for so long.
And speaking of food, just the concession stands alone bring in so much money for these theaters, and nobody's eating in the theaters that were open because they had masks on the whole time. But we're going to move from movie theaters seeing the worst to some television shows that are back in action. Season 46 of Saturday Night Live kicked off this weekend. The sketch comedy show returned to Studio 8H after it finished last season by taping shows at home as a result of COVID-19. All of last season's cast returned, including Alec Baldwin as President Trump. Jim Carrey and Maya Rudolph joined the show, playing presidential ticket Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The pair got to show off their impressions in a 13-minute-long presidential debate cold open. Let's give it a listen.
Now, both of you, this stops right now, all right? You look at me, Donald. You do not treat my Joe like that, all right? He's a nice boy.
Mama, I got this.
Joe. Let Mama go to work.
Reviews were generally positive on the premiere. Many praised Chris Rock as a smart and safe choice to host the season's kickoff. However, some criticized the show's decision to dance around President Trump's COVID-19 diagnosis, and they never directly addressed it. Regardless, a lot of people tuned in to watch, quite a lot, in fact. And here to break it all down is Unpeeled's industry reporter, Yao Bansu.
Thanks, Owen. As far as ratings go for the season premiere of SNL, the show drew nearly 8 million viewers, making it its most watched season opener since 2016 and its third most since 2008. Now, we all knew this episode was going to be different, but not because of the ongoing pandemic, but rather because all of the sketches were predictable. Granted, COVID-19, the battle for TikTok, and the presidential debate are all hot topics during this time. What SNL did a nice job of doing is still making it entertaining for viewers. We were introduced to new characters such as Mike Rodick, Jeffrey B. Epstein, and other names that I choose not to say out loud. And on top of that, viewers just love to see jokes about President Trump. Nevertheless, Chris Rock and the rest of the SNL crew did a very good job of doing their job, making us laugh, and that is why we enjoyed it so much. And if there's anything to take away from this episode, it's that America certainly needs a woman as president. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Yao. Let's talk about that opening. Maya Rudolph as Kamala Harris, Jim Carrey as Biden, Alec Baldwin as Trump. What more do we need? They were the perfect group of people to be doing this. They hit all of the main points that viewers actually felt during the debate. And they obviously were highlighting all of those traits that we love about the candidates. I cannot wait to see what this season brings, Owen. It is going to be a phenomenally funny season for sure.
Oh, easily a phenomenally funny season. It's just, you've got so many things going for you. And watching the debate last week, all I could think about was the cold open come Saturday night. And you saw Twitter blow up the way it did Tuesday night and all day Wednesday. It just kind of continued to ignite that fire leading up to the weekend. I was blown away by Jim Carrey's performance. I can't wait to see what else he has to offer. And I can't wait to see what else SNL has to offer this season.
I know, you and many viewers too. Yao touched on it briefly, but the ratings for last week's show were insane. The show averaged a 1.6 Nielsen rating in adults ages 8 to 9, with over 7.5 million viewers overall. That's a lot of viewers. I am curious to see how many older folks stayed tuned in, though, after Megan Thee Stallion's performance. Those costumes and dance moves were a lot. I just wanted to touch back on the last time that we saw numbers like these was back in 2016 when Margot Robbie hosted and The Weeknd performed.
It really
A
was
long
the
time
perfect,
ago.
yeah, it was the perfect storm for great ratings this week. You take, such a busy news week in terms of the election, in terms of the news with President Trump, and you add that with the season premiere, and you take one of the hottest artists in music and Megan Thee Stallion. I swear every new TikTok trend I see has her music going behind it. It just makes for such a high intrigue level amongst such a wide range of audiences. And another audience that is probably eagerly awaiting some new news. 14 years after Sacha Baron Cohen took the world by storm with Borat, the character is returning to Yankee Land for a sequel. Amazon Prime dropped a surprise trailer for Borat, subsequent movie film set to release on October 23rd, which is just a few weeks away.
The film will feature the titular Kazakhstani character coming back to America in a disguise to avoid being recognized. This time he brings his daughter, seeking to marry her off amid the presidential election and COVID-19 pandemic. The film was not publicly announced before this trailer. However, rumors of a sequel have been circulating since Baron Cohen interrupted Vice President Mike Pence's speech at CPAC in February while dressed up as Donald Trump.
Where did this come from? I know the rumors have been rumbling, but I've been patiently seeking that second Borat film for so long and could not contain my excitement when I saw the trailer for the first time. One of my favorite aspects of movies are their quotability, and the first is beyond quotable. You've got so many options, very nice, high five, the suit is not black. And I hope that the sequel can live up to the quotability of the first one, because if it will, then it's going to be such a phenomenal film as that first one was as well.
Oh, and based off of this trailer, I think that your hopes will not be let down. I found the trailer absolutely hilarious, with so many nods to current events, which is what I love when movies can tie in what's happening. Quarantining, COVID, the election. I was wondering when the first satirical film about this year was going to actually come out, and to my surprise, it's a lot sooner than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know when it was coming out. I don't think anyone expected it to be, dropped with less than a month until it comes out. But you do have to remember, the first film did not come without its controversies. Participants pushed back as to the transparency of what they were being told. There was pushback from American individuals involved, Romanian individuals involved, the Kazakhstani people, and there was even a defamation case made. So walking those thin lines when making a parody like this is always difficult. Though I'm curious to see, how they were able to teeter on that seesaw.
Yes, I'm curious to see how current leaders are going to handle the satirical criticism. But two businesses actually that were used in the film were never really told what the film is about, nor the film's title. And the crews just came in to these businesses, and one of them was a bakery, and they thought that the crew was filming like an actual documentary about American life. It was insane. And a Halloween store employee actually recognized Cohen and ended up being featured in the film. You can see him walking around in the trailer, showing around the Halloween store. So I'm excited to see what all happens with this show. So coming up on Unpeeled, Forbes released their list of the highest paid actresses of 2020. We'll tell you who took the #1 spot.
But first, People's Choice Award nominations are out. Find out if your favorites got a nod or got snubbed. Don't go anywhere. The People's Choice Awards are coming up on E! News, and you won't want to miss this year's lineup. Here to tell you about your chance to vote and some noteworthy nominees is lifestyle reporter Chloe Hector.
The 46th Annual People's Choice Awards are fast approaching, set to air on E! News on November 15th, 2020. The long-awaited list of nominees is finally here, and voting began on October 1st and continues through the 23rd. You can cast up to 25 votes per category per day per voting site, so what are you waiting for? The People's Choice Awards leaves it up to viewers to decide the best of media, entertainment, and pop culture in 2020 in what is a much-needed, more lighthearted voting break. You can vote on stars such as Charli D'Amelio, Cole Sprouse, Dan Levy, Megan Thee Stallion, Timothée Chalamet, and that's just to name a few of the more noteworthy noms. The nominee lineup this year is star-studded and absolutely incredible. It's up to TV fans to determine what the TV show of 2020 is, and after a solid 7-month binge-watching bender, deciding between Tiger King, Never Have I Ever, and Outer Banks is going to be impossible. This year also brought on some new categories such as New Artist of 2020, Best Collaboration Song of 2020, and the Soundtrack of 2020, bringing the category total up to 44. So even if you're not into every category, you can just vote for your thing.
Forbes has released their list of the highest paid actresses in 2020, showcasing the girl power of Hollywood. Small screen stars dominated the list this year, with Sofia Vergara coming in at the top of the list, closely followed by Angelina Jolie and Gal Gadot. Unpeeled's pop culture beat reporter Ella Mulligan is here to break down the rest of this impressive list for us. Ella, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So let's jump right to it. Break down this list for us. Who are these top earners in the Hollywood scene?
So Sofia Vergara came in first this year. She earned $43 million from her roles in Modern Family and also as a judge on America's Got Talent. And for Modern Family, she takes in about $500,000 per episode. And then for being a judge on America's Got Talent, she gets paid around $10 million a season. And Angelina Jolie actually follows close behind her, earning $35.5 million, and Gal Gadot earned $31.5 million.
That is so impressive. Honestly, I wish I was raking in these big bucks. Now, Sofia Vergara has been on the list for some time now. What do you think is the most interesting, unexpected part about the list this year?
So I think since the coronavirus pandemic has started and movie theaters have been totally shut down, the release of traditional movies has been totally halted. All these new releases are kind of looking for new ways to get released, or they're just waiting for the pandemic to stop and for theaters to open back up. So it was really the small screen actresses who were able to dominate the majority of this list. I mean, you have Sofia Vergara, Ellen Pompeo, Viola Davis, Elizabeth Moss. They're all top earners this year based on the highly successful TV shows they're a part of. And I mean, with TV, actors and actresses are paid up front, while movies give larger bonuses based on the box office performance. So that's how TV stars are really able to be super powerful on this list this year. And I think that's how Sofia Vergara was able to really skyrocket to the top.
Definitely, definitely. Again, so much girl power here, and we have us two girls also entering the entertainment industry. What do you think that these wages have to say about the future of the entertainment industry?
Well, I think the restructuring of this list really shows that there is a true power behind streaming services and that TV shows can really hold their own in the entertainment industry. I mean, while movie stars have always been the ones seen as the people to really bring home the big bucks from their movies, I think it really shows that talent will take you far no matter what medium you have. I mean, you see these amazing artists that are in these long-standing TV shows and they're able to make so much money, even though they may not have the same star quality that most people assume with movie stars. They are still really amazing performers in their own right. And I think the list this year is really important in showing the talent just across the entertainment industry of all these amazing women, and that actresses can still make it big no matter what.
Definitely, Ella, you said it. Actresses are taking the world by storm for sure. Thank you so much for joining us, Ella.
Yes, thank you.
Versace's vice president of sneakers and men's footwear was racially profiled by police in Beverly Hills over the weekend. Salehi Bembury was stopped by officers after jaywalking and walking in a bus lane. The encounter was captured on the body camera of an officer as well as by Bembury on his Instagram. The video quickly circled through social media after its release. Unpeeled's pop culture reporter Ella Mulligan is here to tell us exactly what went down. Ella, thank you so much for joining us. I know this isn't the typical pop culture story that you cover. Can you give us a rundown of what happened during this stop?
Definitely. So Salehi Bembury, who's the vice president of sneakers and footwear for Versace, was walking near Camden Drive and Wilshire Avenue when police officers stopped him for apparently jaywalking.
We were over here and we saw you walk across the red hand over here, so we just want to make sure, like, what's going on? How come you did that? You didn't want to wait for the light?
What did I do? I'm like a little like startled.
Right here. Rodeo?
Oh, I jaywalked, I guess.
Right.
They went on and asked him if they could search him to see if he had any weapons on him, which he didn't. And eventually they released him after 3.5 minutes. Bembury took to Instagram during the incident to give people an account of what happened to him and captioned the video, quote, "Beverly Hills while black. I'm okay. My spirit is not."
Wow. Do you know how the Beverly Hills Police Department responded to all of this?
Yeah, so when Bembury claimed that the stop was racially biased, the police officers talking to him said he was, quote, "making it different than what we just talked about," in reference to Bembury admitting that he did jaywalk. And Beverly Hills Police Lieutenant Max Subin said that the officers were merely talking with Bembury because there are so many pedestrian accidents and driving violations that occur in the area, and they were just watching out for his safety.
Wow, I know there are so many people who must have seen this video, especially being on his Instagram and across social media. What have the reactions been like?
Yeah, so Donatella Versace took to Instagram and immediately was condemning the stop. And many of people have also dubbed this as another incident of shopping while black. And while the officers said that they stopped Bembury because of safety concerns, I mean, it still seems suspicious to me. I mean, how many people jaywalk on a daily basis and the police never stop them? And then he's walking and gets stopped for 3.5 minutes and asked if he has any weapons on him. I mean, just the transition from a jaywalking thing to being asked about weapons just seems a little suspicious to me. And also in the body cam footage, you can hear the police commenting on how nice the shoes are that he's wearing. And I mean, it just seems really suspicious. Like, I don't know. For me, it seems like a stop and frisk in my opinion, but this is just another instance in a long line of police racially profiling Black people who are just trying to go about their days and do their business.
Yes, Ella, like you said, this is not the first time that we've seen this. It continues to happen, and it is very, very unfortunate. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ella. Coming up, sports may be back, but viewership isn't. Find out how COVID has impacted the sports industry next on Unpeeled. After a hiatus that lasted over 4 months, fans nationwide are enjoying sports again. The usual intensity and excitement is there, but COVID-19 is a constant threat. The NFL was the final league to return, and Unpeeled sports reporter Chris Sachi details how football has handled recent hurdles.
Wild times. Everybody is ready to go out and take the floor. Both teams have gone back to the locker room.
Game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe.
The entire NCAA has suspended operations in addition to the NBA, MLB, NHL, and other professional sports leagues.
The sports world stood still for 4+ months, but the most popular league in America never had to halt operations. The NFL wrapped up its season with the Super Bowl in February, but time alone, as we've all learned, does not help with this virus. Here is a look at what the NFL has had to deal with in the last couple of weeks or so. Outbreaks on multiple teams. The league decided to tighten up the COVID protocols in response. The NFL will require surveillance footage to observe mask and PPE compliance. But let's not forget, in many ways, COVID-19 is a numbers game. NFL game day rosters are 55 players. That's more than double Major League Baseball. Fans are allowed at some of these stadiums. So with 12 weeks left in the regular season, plus playoffs, it remains to be seen how COVID-19 will impact America's most popular sport. Reporting for Unpeeled, I'm Chris Sachi.
Well, the return of sports have finally given fans a reason to bask in glory and drown in defeat. The business side of things have not gone as smooth. Sports leagues are losing more money than ever, with one of the main causes being TV ratings. Here to tell us more about the decline of sports viewership is Unpeeled's industry reporter Yao Bansu. Yao, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Always nice being on the show.
Now, my first question, where is this unusual decline in sports coming from?
COVID-19 has resulted in all of these conflicting schedules for the country's major leagues. And then that leads to instances such as last month, where the NBA, NFL, MLB, MLS, and WNBA all played at the same times. With more sports being played, that means more fans spread out. And that leads to fewer ratings because fans are less singled in to one game.
Now, you mentioned all these different leagues playing at the same time. Which major league is being hit the hardest by these rating declines?
I'm going to have to go with the NBA on this one because when it comes to ratings for basketball, they rely on two things: storyline and fan appeal. No one wanted to see the Heat in the finals. Fans wanted to see Giannis in the finals. They wanted to see Clippers versus Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. They wanted to see Celtics versus Lakers in the finals. All of those things didn't happen. And when you see LeBron dominating the way he is, that creates less fan appeal.
Now, you mentioned the NBA, and the viewership for the finals has been lackluster at best. 7.4 million viewers in Game 1. It's the lowest mark in over 2 decades, and Game 2 and 3 have shown similar trends, on its way to be the lowest rated finals ever. So here's the million-dollar question. How can sports repair this never-before-seen ratings decline?
You don't. You roll with the punches. Adjust to this new yearly schedule, trying to find ways to attract more viewers, because this competition, it's not just this year. It's going to happen going forward.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. Always great to hear from you.
Thank you for having me. Always nice.
South Park has had its highs and lows in terms of quality and viewership, but somehow the animated comedy just hit another peak. The show's pandemic special last week scored its highest ratings in 7 years. Our television reporter and longtime South Park enthusiast Patrick Gunn explains how the show scored such high ratings.
Well, Katie, when you're going down to South Park, you're going to have yourself a time. And last week, the South Park creators saw some friendly faces everywhere that they hadn't seen in years. Let's just start off with the numbers. The pandemic special landed 2.3 million total viewers with a 2.1 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. And that's an 178% increase from last year's season opener and an 168% jump from last year's average episode rating. So big numbers, and the pandemic special was interesting for several reasons. It's South Park's first hour-long individual episode aired on TV, so there's a novelty factor to this. And also, this episode was aired on multiple different channels and platforms. According to Deadline, Viacom's MTV and MTV2 also aired the special, which gave the show over 4 million viewers. And let's say you couldn't watch it live or you don't have cable. Well, HBO Max has you covered, as they also had the special available a couple days later along with the rest of the series. But why did the special attract so many viewers? Well, people need an escape. One of the main plot lines of the special centers around that very question, with Randing having his own pandemic event of his own. The episode also tackles our anxieties surrounding the pandemic, police brutality in America, and the president's handling of the virus. And not to mention the episode features a musical number about social distancing. So South Park's pandemic special did a great job grappling with social commentary, classic South Park gags, and also just current ways of dealing with the weird, wacky world we're living in. And while not every gag hit, the special did do a great job capturing the essence of why going down to South Park is such a time. For Unpeeled, I'm Patrick Gunn.
Coming up on Unpeeled, I'll be breaking down the top new music releases this week. Don't go anywhere. It's finally October, and we already know that means it's time for chilly fall weather and Halloween movies coming our way, but it also means a lot of new music in store for the month ahead. Kicking off the new releases this week is Bon Jovi with his new album 2020, where he expresses some of his most valued moral and political beliefs through his songs. Next up, we have Queen with the release of their new album Around the World, which features recordings of 20 live performances from different concerts with singer Adam Lambert. Lana Del Rey released her first spoken word album called Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass, which is also the title of her brand new book. And Megan Thee Stallion follows up the extreme success of her #1 hit song WAP with a brand new single featuring Young Thug called Don't Stop. And one of my personal favorite artists, Young Gravy, dropped a new satirical pop album called Gasanova, featuring several rappers like Chief Keef and Baby No Money, which I highly recommend for anybody looking for some new, fun, upbeat songs. And Shawn Mendes released his single Wonder, which has already made it onto charts as one of the top 10 songs in the United States right now. Finally, the K-pop band Blackpink released their long-anticipated full-length album titled The Album, and their music video for their song Lovesick Girls got 11 million views in its first 2 days on YouTube.
Blackpink is a fairly new band that's been making frequent headlines in music news recently. What led to the group's fast rise to fame?
So, like you mentioned, they are a fairly new band, only established in 2016, but their fast rise to fame can really be accredited to their giant fan base that spans much farther than their home country of South Korea. And one of their first songs went viral on YouTube and is currently the most watched K-pop music video on the whole platform. So that's really where they started to build their huge fan base, was off of that YouTube video, and that's how they became famous so quickly.
What made their newest album stand out to fans as compared to maybe some past music they've released?
So I don't think anything specifically set the album apart from their past albums. It was just overall like a really good collection of brand new songs. And with K-pop, K-pop artists tend to release music very quickly and frequently. So the 6-month gap between the band's first album and then this album left fans just eagerly wanting more. And this album really just didn't disappoint.
And since the album's debut earlier this week, what has been the general reaction from fans?
So a lot of fans and critics have actually been calling this album the best album they've released yet. And 5 out of the 8 songs on the album are actually currently holding spots in the top 10 songs globally, which, like you mentioned before, is very, very impressive for a new band like them. And the album also features big name artists like Cardi B and Selena Gomez, which drew a lot of fans from those artists' respective fan base to the K-pop band. So overall, I'd say it has been a huge success, and I'm so excited to see what they have in store for the future.
Coming up after the break, Katie and I are telling you what to watch out for this weekend. Don't go anywhere. Apple is making moves which could make iPhone cases a thing of the past. Here to explain why and making his Unpeeled full show debut is tech reporter Ricky Sayer. What's the report, Ricky?
This is for a self-healing phone. You know, I'm sure we've all done it. We've dropped our phone on the ground. It's gotten a crack. You hate to see it. This would provide the solution. Apple filing a patent with the U.S. government for a foldable phone that heals itself. Now, I'm sure everyone's wondering, how would that work? This patent says that they're going to use this protective layer of the phone. It's going to use light, heat, and electric current to somehow fix itself when the phone is closed. Now, we'll mention that there have already been foldable phones on the market made by the big players. Samsung, Motorola haven't worked too well, haven't gotten a lot of traction. This would put Apple above the fold to say in this race for a foldable phone that would somehow heal itself. You know, all this would come at a perfect time for me. My phone's acting a little wonky right now. I might have to get a new screen. This would make it so much easier. Owen, back to you.
That's all the time we have for you this week on Unpeeled. Keep your eyes peeled this weekend for more Unpeeled content. Our film lifestyle reporters are bringing Halloween early this year. Find out the October movie lineup and get costume inspiration on this weekend's edition of Unpeeled. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Katie Lane.
And I'm Owen Valentine. Be sure to follow us at CitrusTVE on Twitter and on Instagram at CitrusTV Entertainment. And we have a new TikTok account. Check us out at _CitrusTV_ on the app. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week with more entertainment news.